The story begins on a hot evening in southern Arizona, where the hills lay like sleeping animals beneath the golden sunlight. The wind swept across the dry grass and carried with it the scent of the desert, a scent of sand, heat, and ancient stories only the stars truly understood. On the Hollow Creek Ranch worked a woman named Marlene, a quiet, determined soul with a heart bigger than all the fences on the land. She was known for caring for injured animals as if they were her own children. And no matter how hard the work became, she always continued with a soft smile. But what happened on this particular day would not only change her life, but the fate of an entire community. Marlene had just finished tending the horses when she heard a faint groan, in the distance barely audible, nearly swallowed by the wind. She froze, listened, and there it was again, a weak, tormented sound. Without thinking, she grabbed her water pouch and ran toward the slope behind the barn. There, half hidden beneath a bush, lay a man, severely injured, unconscious, bleeding. His clothing, the patterns on his leather vest, the feathers in his hair, everything about him revealed he was an Apache. Marlene knew what that meant. The ranch owners hated the Apaches, saw them as danger, as enemies to be chased away on sight. But Marlene's heart knew no boundaries between people. She knelt beside him, gently lifted his head, and noticed the deep wound along his side. "Oh God, what have they done to you?" she whispered. She pressed her cloth against the wound and murmured soothing words, unsure if he could hear her. Slowly he opened his eyes, dark, sharp, filled with pain, yet an unbroken inner strength. He tried to speak, but his lips were too dry. She gave him water drop by drop, and he breathed heavily but gratefully. Marlene knew she couldn't leave him there. If he died, and she knew he would without treatment, his blood would be on her hands. So she pulled him up, supported him against her shoulder, and dragged him, step by step, to the old barn that was barely used anymore. There she laid him on hay, bandaged his wounds, and stayed with him for hours until his breathing steadied. As the sun set, he opened his eyes again. "Why are you helping me?" he asked in a hoarse voice. "Because you're a human being," she answered simply. He closed his eyes, and in that moment, Marlene knew she had made the right choice, no matter what it would cost her. It didn't take long for someone to find her. The ranch owner, Tom Hargrove, a stubborn old man with a deep hatred for all tribes in the region, discovered the tracks near the barn. When he stormed inside and saw the injured Apache, his face turned red with fury. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he roared. Marlene stepped between him and the wounded man. He would have died. "I couldn't just leave him." "I don't care. You're putting us all in danger." He pointed at the injured man as if he were an animal, instead of a person. "Get him out, and you, pack your things. You're fired." Marlene's heart sank, but she lifted her chin. "If being human is a reason to fire me, then I'll go now." She took her bag, turned away, and left the ranch without looking back. But her thoughts stayed with the man lying there like a wounded eagle with broken wings. 30 minutes later, barely after, Marlene was out of sight. The ground began to tremble. The horses in the stable started whinnying. The cowboys rushed outside and stared into the desert. Out of nowhere, riders appeared, many riders, and at their lead was a man on a powerful black horse. His face was painted, his gaze sharp as a blade. He wore the insignia of a chief. The men on the ranch froze. "Oh God, those are Apaches," one whispered. But the chief rode straight toward the ranch, proud, fearless. When he stopped in front of the barn, he looked directly at Tom Hargrove. "My son was injured," the chief said calmly, but his voice sounded like thunder. "He is here." "Who treated him?" Hargrove swallowed. "A woman, but she's gone." The chief dismounted, entered the barn, knelt beside his son, touched his forehead gently, then turned back to the ranch workers. "My son lives because your woman saved him." Then he raised his head, his eyes blazing. "Where is she?" Meanwhile, miles away, Marlene was walking the dusty road alone. She felt lost. Everything she had done was right, yet it had cost her everything. What she did not know was that the world had only just begun to change for her. Back on the ranch, the chief mounted his horse again and faced the terrified men. "You cast out the woman who saved my son's life," he said. "That is a shame." But it is not my war. He pointed east toward the path Marlene had taken. Bring her back, or we will. Tom Hargrove stood frozen. For the first time in his life, he did not know what to say. His pride battled his fear, but in the end he muttered, I'll send someone to get her. No. The chief swung back into his saddle. We will bring her, and you will learn what honor means. And so the ride began. Dust rose into the sky, the horses thundered forward, and within minutes they found Marlene. When she heard the riders, she turned around in fright. But when she saw the chief stop before her, she understood this was not an ending, but the beginning of something meaningful. The chief bowed his head. You saved my son. You are under our protection. Marlene felt the tightness in her throat loosen. I only wanted to do the right thing. That is exactly why, he said. You will learn today that courage is never in vain. Together, they returned to the ranch, and there, a whole new chapter of her life awaited. A story about courage, humanity, unexpected alliances, and how a single good deed can change the world.